So before we get started, let me define deliriant for you. Deliriants are defined as a class of hallucinogen. The term was introduced by David F. Duncan and Robert S. Gold to distinguish these drugs from psychedelics and dissociatives, such as LSD and ketamine, respectively, due to their primary effect of causing delirium as opposed to more lucid states produced by such other hallucinogens as are represented by psychedelics and dissociatives. I only bring this up because this would have been nice to know before delving into the world of Deliriant. Although, to be fair, it still doesn't explain much. In any case, welcome back to Hyper Blue Reviews. In this episode, I'll be diving into Deliriant for the PS4. Deliriant falls into the walking simulator category. You wander around a house and inspect various items and attempt to discern what's going on based on what you pick up. The game gives off Going Home vibes, but with less charm and exposition. Deliriant was developed and published by Manic Interactive LLC. Manic Interactive LLC is actually composed of a group of students, and Deliriant was created as a part of their thesis. The game was built from the ground up and strives to be abstract and have a somber tone. The game is a bit too abstract in my opinion, but I digress. So one issue that I take with the game, there's really no story that's being told to you. So my take of the story is there isn't one. You play as a nameless protagonist and pick things up as you explore a house. Given the tchotchkes, decorations, and wallpaper, you realize that you're either in a very outdated house or in the 1960s or 70s. The walls will begin to flash different colors and even move as you examine the items throughout the house. After you've looked at enough things, a hole opens up where you begin the game. Once you go into the hole, you walk down some makeshift stairs and you find a bunch of doors. You enter a door and you're back at the title screen. That's it. That's the entire game. The PlayStation Store offers a bit more on the confusing narrative. Deliriant is a brief narrative experience that takes a subtle approach to the exploration of serious topics like abuse, coping mechanisms, and familial relationships. Play as the mother of a family of 4, discovering the spaces you've carved out for yourselves, the belongings that you cherish, and what that says about each of you. While that may have been what the developers were going for, I did not have that experience at all. Also, I would not even have known I was playing as a mother while playing through this game. There's no exposition to tell us one way or the other. As I mentioned previously, Deliriant is a walking simulator. The gameplay is very similar to games like Going Home or Ether 1. You walk around the house and pick up things with the X button, and you can rotate the items by using the analog stick. Given that there normally isn't much gameplay in walking simulators, I will say that it's actually very hard to turn the items while you're holding them. Typically, you can't move while you're holding certain items, but there are a few that you can carry around the house. As far as I know, there's no real reason to carry an item around, so I'm not sure why they even added that to begin with. Again, the store page states that the more you pay attention to this game, the more you will understand, but I'm not sure where it begins to become clearer to the player. Nothing is explained in the game, and there's no dialogue. In a better walking simulator, Going Home for example, the story unravels as the player searches the house. A lot of the items that the player picks up add something to the backstory. With Deliriant, you pick up an item and you look at it and then you put it down. There's no dialogue that says, this is what the item means to your character, and there's no text or anything either. Referring back to the synopsis on the store page, the environment evolves as a character and drives the story through player interaction, As you explore, the home will place its own significance, reacting to your presence in lieu of its residents. Again, I'm not entirely sure what the developers meant by this, but the only thing the environment does is change colors as you look at things. I believe this is supposed to indicate that the protagonist is delirious, but again, without dialogue or anything, it's hard to infer. I neglected to mention this before, but you begin the game in a completely white environment. I don't know who decided to start the player in a completely white environment, but it made for a frustrating first couple of minutes of me trying to reorient my character and find my way out. All the player has to do is turn right to escape the white room, but why not start the player facing the door? This white scene seems unnecessary unless there's some meaning behind it that I'm not understanding. Once the player turns right, they can approach the door and enter the house. The transition from the white room to the house is flawless here as well. And if you couldn't tell that was sarcasm, it's literally a jump cut from white to wallpaper. Deliriant is fairly non-linear given that there isn't much of a story to begin with. You don't even have to explore the entire house to complete the game. There are probably specific items that you have to look at, but it wasn't called out very well. The ending sequence is also pretty surreal. You walk through a hole in the wall and enter a dark void where broken objects form steps. Once you're at the bottom, you're presented with a bunch of doors to go through. Honestly, the player can take any door at the end to finish the game. There's no ending dialogue or cutscene either, it just takes you back to the title screen. One positive thing I'll say about Deliriant is that the graphics don't disappoint. The house decor is definitely spot on for the time period it's supposed to be set in. All that being said, while I still believe walking simulators are typically fun, they can still be poorly made. Case in point, Deliriant. If this was truly an experimental narrative type of game, then I'm sorry to say, but the experiment was not a success. I'm all for trying something different, but dialogue would have really been helpful before the game started and when picking up items. I give Deliriant 1 hard to rotate object out of 5. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this review and, as always, thank you for watching.